I remember reading through in a digest somewhere about tigers leaping onto boats and taking people away. I was like, wow, that that puts a visual in your head. Like, how would this look? How would this look? How would a tiger leaping onto a boat taking someone away? And of course, then it was about the Sunderbans. Then I was like, wow. And I realized that about 98% of the people in the country don't even know where the Sunderbans is. It had great ingredients, to give you that wow element, and it was so dramatic in its own play, in its own way. You have the village of widows because there's so many tiger killings. 300 to 400 tigers are in the wild over there. They record close to 100 killings, and it's all about the human interference there. So, which is also a good social message to have. Keep in mind, India has always been known as the tiger capital of the world. Tigers are national animal there, and we've never made a film on tigers there. It was shocking that no filmmaker ever approached the subject there, and we really put our best efforts to justify and to really give people this whole spectacle there. So that is how this whole concept of Roar has come together. Yeah. We're extremely happy with what Anibrain has done for us. It's been a long journey making Roar. It was a very difficult film to make. It was a very complex film to make. When Avis and I wrote this film, and it's about tigers and it's about Sunderbans, and we had this big action and we had this big drama, and we wanted to take our audience on a journey, our characters and our audience on a journey through the Sunderbans. Sunderbans is a very volatile place. It's one of the largest marshlands in the world. So we had sequences written with the saltwater crocodiles, with the snakes, with, of course, tigers. At that point, when we started Roar, we thought we would be the first tiger film in the world. We had no idea Life of Pi was under production. We started doing a lot of research with VFX companies and VFX work which has been done overseas in Hollywood. And then we started speaking to companies in India because a lot of the VFX work was coming into India. We said, let's bring this out of India. That's how we came across Anibrain. Now, Anibrain was a company which had never worked in India. They were based in India. It's started and run by Jayesh Krishnamurthy. He was doing a lot of work for Hollywood. He'd done all the Resident Evils, Ghost Riders, and he'd done a whole bunch of films. And the way he approached the film, and we were looking for people to tell us how to approach this film. Executing it was another issue. So we needed someone to design the visual effects aspect of it, to create the whole VFX pipeline and how this is going to be programmed there. And that is when we did some shoots with Anibrain as well, and that's when we were more than confident. We knew that Jayesh is going to pull this one off. And the advantage with working with someone like Jayesh Krishnamurthy is he takes ownership of the film there, which means it becomes his film, which means he's accountable, and we gave him we gave him a free hand on the creativity, which was wonderful. But it was a very complex film to make because now once we had designed everything, the tigers were trained, and we had various things set up, and we had a kind of a layout, a plan of how this film was going to be made. It involved a lot of things. We were filming with tigers in Los Angeles. We were filming with cubs in Thailand. We were filming the plates and the actors in the Sunderbans, in the marshland. Metadata had to be matched in 3 different locations. Lighting had to be matched in 3 different locations. So, of course, the obvious choice was to take a cameraman who was well versed with visual effects. That's how we found Michael Watson from Hollywood. He had done Skyline, and he was on the camera team of Benjamin Buttons and Step Up 2, and so he had the inherent knowledge of visual effects because this film was going to be driven strongly by the VFX department. It's been a very challenging film to make. It's been a great learning experience, to have gone through such a long journey and so many different levels. We finished filming over a period of 3 to 4 months, and we actually finished the entire filming back to back. Everything that we shot in this film, we shot it at 5K resolution, at 120 frames. Now I'm talking of shooting dialogue scenes at 120 frames, because we had to give visual effects as much information as possible, because there were a lot of shots which we couldn't, there were location challenges. We couldn't reach to the artists. Camera couldn't be moved that much from Los Angeles location to studio shoots, and we got into editing, which took a long time because editing and visual effects went parallel. As I was editing the sequences, we were sending shots. I was doing a basic level of compositing on the timeline. Plus, we were using a lot of CGIs to fill in our gaps. We had a lot of shots with the real tigers, but they were limited shots. There's only so much a real tiger can do it. And to fill in the gaps, we were depending heavily on CGIs. And it's very tricky when you're editing CGIs because actually what's in front of you is just a plate. We won't see the final product till a much later date. By then, all the decisions, the edit would have been locked in. So, at every stage, it was very challenging to edit this film, to move to the next step. And the sheer amount of time and manpower required to generate, to make Roar was crazy because we had 120,000 hours of rendering footage. We had 300 compositors and VFX artists working on our material for 6 to 8 months. I remember at a much later stage, we got a call from visual effects saying that they're not going to give us handles. Now, normally with every shot, they were giving me 8-frame handles both sides, which as an editor gave me a little bit of latitude where I wanted to cut the shot, before the blink, after the blink. We reached a point where they gave us a call and they said just the handles to render out is taking 7,000 hours. They said you have to give us precise cuts. As an editor, as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, it gets very, very challenging, and you have to be sure of every cut. Our post-production and edit took us over close to a year, and very few filmmakers and producers have the guts to wait that long. Most filmmakers announce the release date the minute they've completed principal photography. And they put a lot of pressure on visual effects, because of the release date. And now what happens with that is the cost doesn't reduce, but the quality definitely does. So we as filmmakers had assured Jayesh Krishnamurthy and Anibrain and all at Anibrain, we will do no such thing. Till Anibrain doesn't clear our files, till Anibrain doesn't, visual effects doesn't tell us this film is ready, we will not announce any release date. So it's a very different style of a film. It's been a very different style of filmmaking. We have been unique in every aspect of this film, from our design aspect to our storytelling, to the edit styles, to our music, to our scores, to the visual effects we've done, and to the way we conducted ourselves in making the film. I think some of the big challenges of on-location shooting which we faced was nothing to do with it never dealt with permissions, because we actually filmed it from the Bangladesh side, which has 80% of the Sunderbans. The government was very supportive, and they gave us all the permissions and clearances. It took a little bit of time to process those papers, but once we had them, we had no issues with that. We had forest rangers, we had forest guards, but we were a big unit going into the Sunderbans, and we were going to be living in the core territory. Now, I had done 4 recce trips before, and I realized this is not an easy way to make a film. So I was part of the production design team also at that point, and we landed up taking, with a minimum crew, we didn't want to take too many people, but we still landed up taking 150 people, and we had to live on 4 ships, and there were very basic amenities on the ships, and those ships, we were living in the core territory. There was no communications, there was no telephone, there was no television, there was no internet, and we were there for 5 weeks. We had a small fleet of 18 boats, which was tied, to our ships. And the unit would jump onto these boats, and these are the boats which would take us into the canals. Now, the canals were really narrow, and Sunderbans has an issue with tides. It's not an issue, that's the ecology, that's the system. Where every 6 hours at high tide, the jungle is submerged, and 6 hours later at low tide, you're on knee-deep silt. So, yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I can't think of one shot which was a simple shot. Every shot is a difficult shot. On location, there were tiger pug marks all around, every day. Now, you know how fresh they are because in 6 hours at high tide, all impressions are wiped out. So we knew there were tigers all around us. As we were getting into canals, there would be crocodiles bumping against the boat. We'd be walking the silt and snakes would just whiz past between our legs. So, yeah, and in between all that, we had this visual effects team who was, they were so persistent and they were so particular about the metadata. Get the focal length right, get the focal distance right, the degree of inclination, and we were just like, wow. And we were bobbing on boats and trying to get metadata matching, and for every little change, a whole boat had to be moved. You had to get onto a boat, move, change the character. Tilt it, turn it. So it was everything was very challenging. Some of the big shots which we had, what we did was we also took an aerial team, aerial cinematographers. They're called Helicam, they're from Finland. They were very, very talented, but also very expensive team to bring down. And because we realized we wanted to show Sunderbans in all its glory, and we had a lot of aerial shots written into our previs, into our stories. And also on a lot of the locations, which most people don't know, we didn't have any trolleys, or we couldn't put big tracks in. We were using the Helicam, and we were doing master shots where we would start with the characters with dialogues from one boat, move to the next boat, finish with the dialogues, move up into the sky, and we had flamingos in the foreground. So we were doing such kind of master shots here. And this was all very challenging kind of stuff to do, but we were very fortunate to have a very strong team and very talented people. We landed up doing a time slice shot, which was a big shot in the Sunderbans, where the camera kind of rotates around while the tiger's mid-air, and it's frozen in time, and the camera kind of rotates around all the characters and the tiger. Now, a shot like this requires a big rig system. It requires 80-90 cameras. All cameras have to run at a certain speed and a certain time. We couldn't carry all this with us. So we were actually we were pushing the limit with all our teams, because we asked Helicam to calibrate this shot for us. It was a manipulation of speed. It was a manipulation of a lot of things. But yes, they did it. So I think in such radical conditions, everyone somehow turned around and really gave their best. I would work with real tigers any day than working with any of our superstars. It was, I think, it was one of the most phenomenal experiences. Filming with tigers. I remember on the first day we were in Los Angeles, and we had hired a big Hollywood crew from there, and we had hired one of the biggest studios over there. And we built these enclosures, and we had to build ramps and tables and various kind of props which were matching the boats in the Sunderbans. And when the Bengal tigers came on set, and we had this entire Hollywood crew who just dropped everything they had, and everyone had the cameras out, and everyone was just went berserk photographing that moment. And Eric Weld, who heads Hollywood Animals, it was his company who taken the responsibility. We had 3 of the largest Bengal tigers under training for a fair amount of time. And once we got the clearance, of course, that's when Avis and I flew to Los Angeles to take the shots. And a lot of people wondered, they didn't expect us to come back with this much footage, neither did visual effects. We came back with 40% more than what we set out to actually film. We had 180 shots with the tigers. We were using 3 cameras and recording metadata of all 3. So these were a lot of shots to achieve. Each tiger was specialized in something or the other. There was one which we used for jumps, one we used for close-ups. One small incident I can tell you is we had this tiger called Shika, who was doing all our big shots. And our sound designer, Rasul Pukati, who's a highly acclaimed sound designer, who's won an Oscar award for Slumdog Millionaire and things like that. And he insisted, he was like, please record all the sounds, because he's going to require all this in the film. But Shika, as we find out, would only perform if there was loud, extremely loud rock music resonating on set. That was the end of the sound design. So we had this whole set which was where we had to bring in these big speakers, and there was this Def Leppard and Twisted Sisters and all this kind of music playing, and that's how she would perform. But putting the whole film together in itself has been so spectacular, because I always say Roar is as big an action adventure behind the camera as we say it's in front of the camera. When we saw the final screening, when we went for the screening of the film, I can really assure you and say this as filmmakers, and I include Jesh Krishnamurthy from Anibrain on this as well, we have managed to blur the line. I have directed this film, I have edited this film, I have seen every grayscale shot, every temp file, every final comp, and I have been through this footage. I have cut every sequence in 3 different styles. I've had 300 timelines. I know every shot, I know every bit of this film backwards. I can do it in my sleep. And still when I saw the screening, and I was like, is that the CG or is that the real shot? I'm not yet sure. So yes, we have managed to achieve that level of compositing, of computer-generated imagery. Our computer CG work was divided between tiger shots, we had flamingo shots, we had crocodiles, we had snakes, we had bees, we had a paragliding sequence, and we had cleanups, which were location problem cleanups, which would be ropes, wires, cables. So the sheer number of shots which actually went to visual effects was about 820 shots. To do the kind of the standard of visual effects what we did internationally, this would cost any filmmaker anywhere between 6 to 10 million rupees, 60 lakhs to a crore rupees per minute of film time. Now you do that math and you keep in mind we have 54 minutes of visual effects. So yes, it costs a lot of money. Besides visual effects, we filmed in 4 different countries. Having tigers trained doesn't come very cheap. Filming in Hollywood is not very cheap. Therefore, the cost of this film has been very high. Inherently, the minute you come into a visual effects film, you know you're going to be landed, with a big bill on that one. To all the viewers who are watching this program, hi, this is Kamal Sadanah. I'm with animationexpress.com, and I would like you should log on to it. They have some great information, some great interviews. They have some great content on this platform. So log on, let people know about it, and enjoy this.